The day is in the midst of a year-long look at affordable housing in the region. What specifically do you think the legislature should do to help people who can't afford to buy a home or are struggling to rent an apartment?
Well, the legislatures should first and most of all concern themselves with the well-being of the economy. If we don't nurture the well-being of the economy so that the self-employed are not struggling, the elderly are not struggling, I think a strong economy would bring a much easier way to be able to rent an apartment, buy a house, if the environment is such that inflation is pervasive, cost of living is incredible. We are, by the way, I am senior citizen now. We can't afford the heat, the oil. The governor and the illustrious legislatures in Hartford are so giddy about having money in a budget. We're in a black. And yet they just increased the diesel tax July 1st. The diesel tax not only impacts the truck drivers, the 18-wheelers that transports goods and services all over the states, but also affects we, the people, when we have to buy heating oil this winter. So to say what we would do is, why don't we worry about making it easy and affordable to do business in Connecticut? Why is it not? I'm a small business owner for over 35 years. I'm a small photographer. Small operation, a one-man shop. It could be a pizza place. It could be a grinder shop. It could be a mechanic. If you walk around our neighborhoods and our cities and our towns, you'll find that nobody's happy with the way they're handling our economy. Nobody. And that's not because, all of a sudden the price of rental went up. It's because it's hard to make a living. So much so that the First Lady of Connecticut has gone to Tennessee to look into starting up a new venture capital in Tennessee, not in Connecticut. Why? Because Connecticut is punitive to the growth of a small business, of an industry. And I think we should go back to the beginning. We should go back to where the citizens, after many years of experience in one field and another, step into the political arena and go to represent the rest of the people. That's what I intend to do, because honestly, that's my sentiment. That's my heartfelt sentiment. Enough is enough.
Okay. Second question. Connecticut recently enacted a law designed to provide safeguards against lawsuits for out-of-state patients seeking abortions in Connecticut and any provider who helps them. Do you support efforts to make Connecticut such a safe haven?
Connecticut passed a law to make a safe haven. The citizens of other states will have to comply with the will of the people of other states. We are 50 different states, and the citizens have, again, they have to have the representation of its people. So if the people of Connecticut vote to approve or disapprove of a certain law, it's up to the people. Not up to the legislatures. Again, it's the same point. The legislatures should go and represent we, the people. They've not been doing that. So if the majority of the people tell another aspiring candidate, we want you to go to Hartford to do this. We want you to go to Hartford to end mandates for the little kids, for the children in school, whatever. We hear the people. We go to Hartford and make adjustments.
All right. Question 3. The state's surplus has grown to over $4 billion. Do you support the decision to use some of that to lower the state's pension debt, or do you think more should be returned to the taxpayer?
It's an easy question. It's not even. We should return it to the people. We got to go back to the basic, folks. I am so puzzled by the state of the current political arena. As I mentioned to Brian, I became a Republican in February when I was asked to consider running for politics. I've been unaffiliated. But we must go back to basics. We need representative that hear the heartbeat of we the people and say, I'll do this. I'll go to Hartford, and with hard work and commitment and courage, we'll change this ship of state around so that when we're told we have an excess because the federal government gave us money or whatever, yes, relieve the burden on we the people.
All right. Number 4. How should Connecticut move forward to address climate change with regard to electric vehicles, wind power, and other clean energy strategies?
Folks, to the viewer out there of the day when you publish this, I'm a merchant marine officer, and I was an engineer on ships. And you can make all the eloquent arguments that you wish. The truth of the matter, to navigate a 100,000-ton ship, to move cargo, passengers, whatever, or trains, or 18-wheelers, you need power. You cannot run a ship on solar energy. When I was a merchant marine officer, an engineer in a ship, we took the elevator to go down in the engine room. It's a big, humongous ship. So I'm sure the technology will improve. I was just talking to your videographer there, your cameraman, that we were reminiscing using film in our cameras, and now life is much easier. I'm sure we'll get to the point where electric vehicles will be charged quicker, will be more affordable. But by the way, where do you get the energy to charge your electric? Where do you get it? It's got to be produced. Some huge undertaking has to be in place to produce enough power so that you can run an electric vehicle. So I'm not opposing of an infrastructure, but let's make sure we got the infrastructure to begin with, which is power generated however we're doing it, whether it be fossil fuels, it's got to be, you cannot just dream, hey, you know what, Brian? Let's build a bridge from here. I'm from Naples, Italy. Wouldn't it be nice if we could build a bridge from here to Naples, Italy? It would be beautiful. Can we do it? No. It would be beautiful, but we can't do it. So for the time being, let's go to JFK, get on a plane, get off 8.5 hours later, that's how long the flight is, and land in Italy or Spain or France and go visit. But let's be real. And again, the focus got to be on the well-being of we the people. That's what I believe.
Okay. Number 5. Do you think the 2020 election was conducted fairly and that Joe Biden won? Second part of that question. Do you support early voting and voting by mail initiatives? So I guess the first part of that is, do you think the 2020 election was...
2020 is 2 years ago. Joe Biden's been president, and we all are suffering the consequence of that because we know what happened with the border. By the way, if I'm not mistaken, the citizens of the great state of Connecticut are about 3-point-something million people. Since the border has been in charge, since they've been in charge of the border, it's over 2 million people. Almost the whole state population came through. Try to do that in Switzerland, by the way. Go ahead. Try to cross the border in Switzerland and see what happens. So 2020 is 2 years ago. But I want to just say this about election in general. I believe in the rule of law. My father was chief of the Royal Guards. I served in the Italian Navy. We grew up in a family that we liked to abide the law. I came to the United States, by the way, in 1980 when I came as a tourist. Did you know that I had to show to the embassy before I get a visa as a tourist? I had to show my bank account. I had to show that I have a business. I was employed. You can't just pick up the plane and go to the United States of America. You couldn't do that, at least in 1980. I don't know about now. But so back to the election. One thing, just to make a point. In a county in Michigan, there were two, and I don't know exactly which county, but that's one of the episodes that happened. 200,000 votes more than the people allowed to vote. I don't even care who they voted for. If you get 200,000 votes more than the people that are allowed to vote, something went wrong. I don't care who did it. I don't care. The point is, we should be sure that the citizens have their will, have the right to speak their mind, have the right to vote for whoever they want. And I encourage everybody listening to this and watching this video on the Day website. I would encourage and exhort everyone watching this, go to vote. I'm not even telling you to vote for me or vote for this or for that. Just go to vote. Inform yourself, and let's represent. We have to make a clear representation of who we are and what we want.
To the other part of that question, do you support early voting?
If it's illegal, for example, when I went to Italy a few years back, there was an election. I went to City Hall in Italy. I voted ahead of time. I showed my ID card and all that. They gave me the ballot. I voted. I turned it all in. It was early voting because I showed them a plane ticket that by the day the election was in place, I wouldn't be here.
How early was it?
Maybe a week. Yeah, a week. Yeah. So I showed the ticket. So there is, of course, early voting for maybe somebody that's sick, demonstrably sick. But another contention is ID, showing an ID. Folks, you're watching me, right? Do I not look one day older than 21? Do I not? Well, by law in the state of Connecticut, if I go buy a bottle of wine, I must show an ID. Do I not look like over 21? What? But the law is the law. The lady smiles and says, I'm sorry, sir, you got to show me an ID. So what's the problem? What's the problem? We don't need to show an ID when we vote? Think again. We must abide the laws. We make the laws through our representatives. The laws get passed according to our will, and then we enforce it. So simple.
How about voting by mail?
Why? I think I became American citizen in 1986. It's an honor. It's a duty. It's a privilege to go on whatever day you choose. We usually choose a Tuesday. In Italy, just 4 days ago in Italy, they voted for new direction. They voted for, the people of Italy said, enough is enough. We are tired of mandates. They changed the government just 4 days ago. So why is there early voting? Why? Because you can physically get there? How about make it on a Sunday? I don't know. Maybe on a Sunday. Maybe make it so that it's easy. But please, to the listeners and the viewers of your paper and your site, for we that came here from another country, it's a privilege. It's a beautiful thing to go to vote. And we don't need 3 weeks to go to vote. Give us a date. Now, if there's obvious, like I explained, if there's a plausible reason, if it's something that you cannot, like our military serving on foreign soils, embassies, obviously they have to be able to send ballots in. But that's a minority. The majority of the people should say, we want to show up on Tuesday, November the 8th, and show our desire for this candidate or that candidate. It should be something they want to do it passionately. We want to change the direction of the state of Connecticut, because when I came to the United States, December of 81, this state, everybody I talked to, all my friends, they would say, wow, you're in Connecticut? That's great. It's one of the great states. Fast forward a few decades later, this is one of the worst, despite what the governor is saying.
Okay. Now, the last question, Rocky, and I'll ask all these questions, the same ones will be posed to your opponent. The one I would ask you that is specific to the district is, I would just ask you, since you've been a candidate, you're out there in the district, and what are you hearing from the people? What are you hearing? What is the biggest issue, other than ones we've covered, that specific to the 19th district? Is there something that you've discovered that's on people's minds?
It's the same, I believe, to other districts, but it's safety, economy, mandates on the children. I don't know if I can mention it. I have a talk radio show on Saturday morning. Every Saturday, people call in from Long Island, from Rhode Island, from half of Connecticut. And the common theme is laws are not being abided. We have laws on the books because, but crime is going down. Crime is not going down. We have a lot less cops to investigate or to enforce the laws. If I'm not mistaken, we used to have 1,300 state trooper. Now we're about 800 something. That's 500 state police that should be on the roads. They should be safeguarding our well-being. Everybody's scared. Everybody's afraid that if we continue this way, we're not safe in our homes, we're not safe in our cars, we're not safe in our businesses. So the most common theme, economy number one, because everybody is grasping. Everybody's in trouble. I have 4 children, and they all are struggling. Not that they're poor, they're hardworking, but they're just not seeing the beauty of what this country, what the states, what our cities should be like. We should not be struggling. We're powerful. We're ingenious. We are free. My motto is forgotten country and life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. How can we pursue happiness if we're struggling? We need to change the elected official to the ones that we like. I will make an appeal to the voters to have the courage. You know how we say, oh, well, I was such and such for, I was born as such and such, I will die as such and such. Please think again. It's time to take destiny into your own hands and say, you know something, I always voted this way, but this time I'll do something different.